Anyway, let's get to the one people want to hear, apparently. I've heard... I stayed away from looking at anything. I stayed away from watching anything about this parking lot fight until I actually watched it so I could form somewhat of my own opinion, except that it was unable to be avoided that Uncle Dave bestowed on this, I can't say match, on this segment, the first 5-star rating he's given since the pandemic. So that's a big fucking deal. Apparently he didn't give it to Adam Cole and fucking Finn Balor. Apparently he didn't give it to Rhea Ripley and Mercedes Martinez. Apparently he didn't give it to any of the number of the matches that we praised to the heavens. Apparently he didn't give it to fucking Flair and Sting ever. Somebody had a list of all the matches that Daniel Bryan has apparently not had a 5-star match. Over the last 30 years, all the people that didn't get 5 stars, they listed, but this got 5 stars. I watched it as a spectacle without making notes until afterwards so that I wouldn't be distracted. And there were some things... Goddamn, how to explain this? It's like... you fuck something up so bad that nobody wants to see it fixed. A relationship, a goddamn television show, fucking something's gone off the rails. And then when they've reached the point of no return and nobody gives a shit, they actually do something halfway good. I guess is because here's the conceptual problems that I have. This whole angle was started as a comedy thing and presented in a way that nobody could ever believe it, that it was all a hoot, and it's revenge over Trent's mom's minivan. You're doing this with mid-card guys, the butt buddies, the best friends or whatever, middle card to be generous. You're not doing this with main event performers. You're doing this on free television, not pay-per-view. You're doing this in an empty arena era, where there's no way to sell tickets to this or to rematches. This was a long angle. Remember, we've talked about the location fight rule. When the match gets out of hand and then goes out in the parking lot or out in the arena or out in the concourse or out in the concession stand or whatever, when it gets out of hand like that, that's shooting an angle to want to see a rematch that could get out of hand and in your mind even worse. And the longer you stay in that cool location for the fight, the more people have seen it and don't want to see any more of it. So your clock is ticking there too. You've got the inherent dangers of real glass and steel because these were real fucking cars. So they're doing it on free television in the empty arena era where there's no tickets to be sold from any rematches or for this. A long angle instead of a blow off with middle card talent, especially even if you want to elevate Santana and Ortiz because they're members of the inner circle. Nobody says that fuck Taylor and Trent, one name only, are fucking main event guys. Nobody with any sense. Nobody with any experience. But then, after all of that, then they go out there and we're serious for the first time and stiff. And no outright silly shit. And nobody running over their crotch with the fucking football field marker. And they legitimately hurt each other. This is the most ass-backward shit I've ever seen in my life. If they were going to do anything, why weren't they serious and legitimate and really mad and violent at the start to hook the people to want to see any other developments in the program? And then maybe they could have got a little silly on the blow off. But instead, they make everything a goddamn clown show until they get to the fucking blow off match and then they almost kill each other. Taylor still looks and moves like a goof. That fucking does not change. But everybody else in here did a great job. I did get a fucking tickle on the giant wall mural saying it's nicer here while they're having a goddamn rumble in the parking lot. But they did the fucking, and it was a great movie scene. It was counterproductive to anything you would ever want to do with professional wrestling, but it was a great movie fight scene. But here's the thing. Why? How will this make any money in the long run? How will this make any money for anybody in the long run? How can you top this? Do more? Break more cars? Get bigger, harder cars with more glass? How does an in-ring finish mean anything now when anybody does it, when they've been whacking each other over the heads with fucking boards and fucking pile drivers on cars, etc.? How does a foreign object cheating in a wrestling match mean cheating? Just cheating of any kind in a wrestling match mean anything else after they've had a street brawl for 15 minutes in the parking lot? Like I said, every part of this was set up to be phony, funny, or silly. And when they had made sure that everybody knew that and talked about Trent's mom, then they get violent. Then the announcers sell it like a blood feud. They double powerbomb Trent through a real windshield and almost break his neck in the process, by the way, and it's not the finish. But then he comes out bleeding from the back profusely. It was like garbage deathmatch wrestling with a fucking budget once you saw that. And then, just when I was ready to say, all right, they hoped this whole goddamn thing up, but at least on the blow-off, they worked as hard as they could. They were serious. They did the closest thing they could come to, I guess, in this environment to an actual fight in a parking lot and stayed away from silly bullshit. Then my little dog Pockets comes out of a fucking trunk of a car at just the right time and knocks out Santana with one fucking shot with a gimmick after he'd just been hit by 18 things over and over. Hands him off to Fuck Taylor, and the butt buddies double pile drive the heels on cars next to each other and double pin them. So they even, at the end, had to spoil what they had accomplished after nearly killing themselves to do it by bringing out the goof and making the finish funny and gaga and bullshit. He didn't need to be there. They could have done this on their own. They were getting some respect and getting taken seriously, and then out pops the goof. And then, just to make sure that even for the fans of my little dog Pockets that liked seeing him, but otherwise they could say, wow, what a fight, hey boy, bow, Jesus Christ. Here comes Trent's mom in a minivan, pulls up, and they all get in the minivan, and she drives them off. In what universe was this good or entertaining or productive or conducive to future business or good for ratings or to sell the non-existent tickets they can't sell or anything otherwise than nearly to kill these four fucking guys and still make a joke out of it when they're all still bleeding and it's hardly even over with? And this is what Uncle Dave now thinks is a 5-star wrestling match, is contrived, dangerous bullshit with preliminary talent that somehow manages to stay serious all the way through the thing until at the end when they ruin it on purpose to make a joke out of the fucking finish and the fucking drive off into the sunset with Trent's mom's minivan. Fuck all of you. I was sorry. I was feeling sorry for them that they were taking those bumps and hitting each other with shit and obviously fucking beating the piss out of each other. And they'd been the victims of such rotten booking up till now that nobody was still going to give a shit or believe it. And then they all cooperate with that. Fuck all y'all. And Dave Meltzer, you can suck my big fat white cock. If you think this was 5-star anything, you are goddamn demented, son. You haven't lost your mind because you know better. What you've lost is your principles and your integrity, because it's more important to you that the cool kids like you than to tell people when you're seeing fucking shit. This was ridiculous. Every compliment I could possibly give these people was taken away by shit that was preventable, by just they couldn't be serious about anything. Even in this instance, when they really were about to fucking paralyze each other. That's what I don't understand this whole goddamn thing. I don't know why anybody would do this. I don't know why a promoter would allow this to be done. I don't know what the point of it is, what the end result is supposed to be, how they're going to make some money off of it. Or how have they just not killed their goddamn company for anybody to do anything else to each other? What else can you sell? A cannonball? Pull me out of this.
Well, let me start by saying it certainly wasn't 5 stars to me. Like I said last week, you could take 1.5 stars, or even, I guess, 1.25 stars, depending on what it is, off Dave's ratings to adjust them for inflation. So I would say maybe 3.5 to 3.75 stars as a brawl, as a spectacle. It was good as a brawl. Like you said, you have to forget the fact that it's been a silly feud with a silly premise behind it.
And it was so good, I was actually able to forget that until the finish, when it got silly again.
Santana continues to impress me.
Yeah.
Chuck Taylor didn't do anything terrible in this. I mean, they were all really good here until Orange Cassidy popped out of the trunk. And then the whole thing with his mom, and then the camera stays on them because obviously she's going to give them the finger out of the minivan.
Well, thank God my DVR cut off. I didn't see the finger from Mom.
Yeah, she gave a middle finger to, well, I guess to us, the audience.
Right. Yeah, well, on behalf of myself and the group, here's what they think of all of us. If you were stupid enough to sit here for 2 hours and watch that shit, here you go.
You can't tell me they couldn't have done a feud with these two teams and made it somewhat serious, building to this as the end of the feud. Very easily they could have.
Of course.
Instead, it's been this silly feud with stolen gear and a minivan of the guy's mom destroyed, and he's going to apologize to his mom. With that said, it was good for what it was. I liked it until Orange Cassidy popped up, and I remember that this is all a joke. This is a joke feud. And that was AEW this week.
Wrestling for kids by kids.
But calling this 5 stars just
that's just ludicrous. And then even if you get into the fact that there is an art form to professional wrestling and leading the people on the emotional roller coaster and putting in an athletic performance, and then also there's garbage deathmatch wrestling where you just whack each other with a bunch of shit for no fucking reason till somebody loses. And this was performed well for that. Most of the fucking deathmatch garbage wrestlers can't do anything. These guys, they did it fairly well, but they ended up shitting the bed and meant nothing. And to say that it's 5 stars of a performance in relation to professional wrestling, like I said, it may be a 5-star movie scene. I bet you there's not any stuntmen in Hollywood that could have done all that in one take. I guarantee you there's not. And I think that's where these guys ought to fucking go and find suitable employment, because their wrestling fucking sucks. 5 stars for a wrestling measurement. Yeah.
He compared it to DiBiase and Duggan in Houston.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, for fuck's sake. He's lost his fucking mind, and it's sad. And he's embarrassing himself now, and more people are picking up on it. There was no art to this. It was just go out and potato each other for a while, and then double pile drivers. There was no art. There was no talent. What it was done better than the average garbage wrestler out on the independents, but it just gives them more fucking ideas that somehow this has something to do with wrestling, and this is what wrestling's about. And that's why I'm down on the complete modern generation, because they every time they do shit like this, they tell the fans this is what it's supposed to be like. And it's only because in most cases, one of two cases with AEW, either the talent is not able to do it right, or elsewise the booking will not allow them to. If you're working for somebody and you don't have that much experience to begin with, and they tell you, oh, we want you to go out and do this. Okay, you're going to go out and do it because you've seen all these other outlaw, goofy wrestling shows, and you think that's what you're supposed to do. And there's nobody here to fucking yank this back and say, what the fuck? No. So